What was really most surprising to you about having this conversation? What was most surprising to you? The what?
How chilled you were.
How chill I am? Oh, yeah.
You kind of seem like you're this kind of person, but I was surprised how chilled you are. And so, because you were so chilled, you made me relax.
You tuned into your inner chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an important topic. This is a really important topic, and you have a powerful message to share with people. So, hey, welcome back to another edition of VisionCast Network, where intention, collaboration, and technology gather in service to humanity. So, the whole purpose of this podcast and this station is to bring together interesting people to have conversations that will uplift mankind in positive ways. So, if you're enjoying what it is that you're hearing and seeing, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. That will push us up to the top of the feeds. Today's special guest is Vivine Trestrail, and she helps men and women and men specifically navigate through the most challenging periods of grief. So welcome to good to see you, Vivine. How are you?
Great, thanks.
So where are you headquartered? Where are you located?
Well, I'm in Canada.
In Canada.
Yeah, an hour away from Toronto,
An
in
hour
a
away from Toronto.
yeah, a little town called Alliston.
Okay, little town.
And I shouldn't say it's growing,
It's
um,
growing.
and it has the it's going to get a third Honda plant that's going to be a hybrid Honda plant, but it has two large Honda plants where they
Oh,
manufacture the Honda cars.
okay. So they're manufacturing Honda cars up there. Okay, beautiful. So give us a little bit, if you will, of your backstory. How did you come to do this work? What was it that led you to do the work that you're doing, supporting women and men through the most difficult years of grief?
Okay, I'm going to try and not ramble and try to be a little brief, but my background is Jamaican,
Okay.
and I grew up in a little town called Mandeville where I met the love of my life,
Yes.
Stephen. And so after getting really serious, we decided to migrate to Canada because he was a Canadian citizen.
Okay.
So his family are kind of white Jamaican, and they were in Canada. And so when his mom got divorced, she took the kids and she raised them in Jamaica.
Okay.
How we kind of met. And then we migrated to Canada.
Okay.
Of course, Jamaican used to, I moved to the most coldest part of Canada, Alberta.
Okay.
Freeze my butt off, but adapted really
Wow.
well.
Adapted, right?
We ended up with 4 children
For
and
children.
back to Ontario where he was closer to family.
Okay. Beautiful. So you met in Jamaica, Iriman,
Yeah,
and then
no
you moved
problem.
you moved to Canada.
Yeah,
That must have been quite a shock.
it was. It was quite a culture shock more than
Quite a
anything.
culture shock, yes.
I remember the days of putting up the temperature to 90 degrees and being in shorts. And my
Okay.
father-in-law coming over to visit and said, no, you can't do this. You're going to kill your husband with the utility bills. So go through the catalogs and see how Canadians dress.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. And I learned to dress properly and put the thermostat down.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's very interesting. I've been to Jamaica a couple of times. It's a beautiful, beautiful island.
It really is. I
Beautiful
haven't
island.
because I'm biased. Jamaicans
Mm, yeah.
want to look after tourists.
Yes. And so what was the most shocking thing about moving from Jamaica to Canada?
The most shocking thing was the cold and the snow.
Yes. In the snow. And have you gotten used to it?
Oh yes, I've climatized for sure.
Okay. So what do you consider warm now that you live in Canada?
Um, which is quite shocking actually. 20 degrees
20
at,
degrees.
I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. What is that now? 70 or 65
Okay.
degrees. It's warm, which is very unusual.
Feels warm. Yeah, you don't get many days like that in Jamaica.
No, in
No.
fact, they do get a cold spell, which they do enjoy. Like my sister said, sometimes they'll go down to 19 degrees Celsius, which is
Yeah.
quite nice for them,
Yes.
to 25 and 27, and
Yes. Yes. Understood. So how did moving from Jamaica to Canada set you on your path of navigating women and men through the most difficult years of grief? Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
yeah, we can talk about it now. The pain isn't as sharp, but
Mm,
um, my husband was really healthy, so it
okay.
came a shock when in 2013 he was having a lot of back troubles.
Okay.
And we just thought it was the usual back pain until it started getting more critical. And he did blood work, and then he was diagnosed in 2014 with uh, multiple myeloma,
Mm,
a bone cancer.
yes. Mm,
We battled that for 2.5 years, and we lost the fight. We lost the battle because he passed away
yes.
in 2016. Yeah, and it was very devastating. Like
Yes.
from being healthy to being sick to dying, and
Yes.
something you just never prepare yourself for.
No.
It was quite a shock. I the feelings were I didn't want to live because he was just such a good husband.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I was fortunate to have a good marriage.
Yes.
With two imperfect people, that's all you can ask for, right? So I had a good
Yes.
husband, very good marriage, very good life. And that was taken away from me in a very short period of time.
Mm,
Married for 35 years.
wow.
I was 16. So we practically grew up together.
Wow. So your life was really defined by this marriage in many ways, and in your beautiful partner, your beautiful husband of 35 years, and then all of a sudden that's gone.
Exactly.
I can't imagine how painful that must have been.
It was. There were days I didn't want to live, to be honest. And
Yes.
I grew up I am a person with a lot of faith.
Yes.
It does test you as to whether, you believe in God or whether he exists. I mean, it takes a lot away from you losing someone you love.
Yes.
The dynamics to it that people don't really appreciate until
Mm. And so the dynamics that occur must shake you to the core, I would imagine.
oh, for sure it does. It really makes you examine, as you said, what you're made of, you know, um, takes away so many beliefs if you're shaky.
Yes.
So it's a really self-examining course you're entering. And for me, I got married very young.
Yes.
I sort of grew in this marriage. And even though I had a good husband, he was also, in a sense, the marriage was, even though I had a good life, the marriage, which I didn't recognize until I lost him, to be honest. Because if you lose someone, and if you are willing to learn, you learn a lot about yourself. So I didn't
Yes.
really know myself when he passed away because I kind of grew where the marriage was with him, looking after him, that kind of thing. So I was left with a person I didn't really know, and that was me.
Mm.
So it was very sad at the same time, but very scary. Um, was a whole new world, really, for me. Because I met someone when I was very young. So I think I had stopped sort of growing. I grew
Okay.
up in a different way.
You grew up in a different way, right? So a significant portion of your life was
Wrapped around this man.
yeah, so the identity was I am the wife of, or we are a couple versus I am. And so that part of the I am sounds like it was not nurtured in the same way as the couple was nurtured. And
Abs-
then that carried on for 35 years. And then all of a sudden, that core identity is lost in a tragic, unexpected way.
You got it. You hit it on the head. And that's exactly what happened. I just fell to pieces because now I not only lost the person that I identified with and
Yes.
wrapped up with, now I didn't know who this person was that was left behind with this relationship.
Yes. Right. That is a very complex and sobering existential, meaning that it really challenges the core identity of one. How did you make it through that? How did you go from here's my identity, now my identity's gone, and who am I? How did you even begin to make it through that?
A very good question. Because honestly, what kept me going was my faith.
Faith.
That kept me going. Um, and that kept me strong because I do believe in a creator.
Yes.
It was very, so I would pray and ask for help in that sense.
Mm.
At the same time, I was very lost. I remember days of just sitting down on a sofa, no lying, Christian, sitting down on
Yeah.
a sofa, looking through the window, wondering when am I going to end it,
Mm.
and just didn't know if I could carry on. And then I had a very good friend too. This is why I preach about having a community. She had lost her husband several years ago, and she took one look at me and she said, "You're a mess." I said, "I know I am a mess. Why are you telling me I'm a mess?" She said, "I just want you to know that you're a mess.
Mm.
You have to stop beating yourself up." And I'm like, "How am I beating my?" She said, "Yes, you're sitting there, you're feeling sorry. It's been like 2.5 years now, and you're not doing anything. You're just getting up. You're sitting on the sofa. You're feeling sorry for yourself. And yes, what you're going through is, I've been there, so I know." And she said, "You're a mess. You're beating yourself up, wondering what you could do differently." And that kind of thinking is just torture. You're just torturing yourself. And I said, and she said, "You need to start to feel, have self love, be kind,
Okay.
be patient with your." And I it looked like I wasn't really listening to her, but after she left, I started thinking in the sense that the way I was living was not living. I was basically dying too. And it wasn't really honoring the person that I loved. Because
Yeah.
I know my husband, and he would not have wanted that for me. He would
Yes.
keep carrying on. And I thought about what she said, and I thought about never ever thinking about myself, never ever thinking that I needed to be kind to myself.
Mm.
And it just resonated with what she said. And I started,
Yes.
from that moment, it was a turning point because I was thinking, she's so right. You're so unkind to yourself. You're beating up yourself. There's nothing
Mm.
you did the best you could. And then I just, it just made me got out of the funk that I was in
Okay.
and had to turn around. And I started doing some reading on grief and what it does to you. But and
Mm.
my therapy is grief can be a friend or it can be an enemy.
Mm,
In my life, it was being an enemy
mm,
because it can do a number on you. You can live in fear, which I've seen.
yes.
Oh, just tell me when to stop. But
Oh no, you're doing great. I really appreciate this. First of all, I just one of the things that I really appreciate, every conversation that I have with guests is different. And each guest has a unique story and a unique perspective. What I really appreciate about what you are saying is that it's so authentic. I was young. I really hadn't established myself as an adult per person, as an adult Vivian. I got married and then I shifted my focus and created an identity that was bound to another person. And then they died quickly. I was tremendously shocked by this. And then at the end of the day, when I was looking around, I didn't know who I was or where I existed. And I went into a dark, sad place and I felt sorry for myself. I had faith, but I was still deeply sad. And so, what I did to get out of the situation was listen to a friend. And then I started to be kind to myself. So, it's not just faith, it's kindness.
exactly.
You stitch together faith and kindness. So the faith is more of an internal, intentional focus is how I look at it. And then the kindness is an action. So
Exactly.
it's like it's you stitch together faith in action,
Yeah.
not knowing where you were going to go. You just knew that you needed to go somewhere. And that is potent in my opinion. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for that because I think that there's a courage and there's an element of a person that is willing to do that. Those types of people are rare in my experience.
No, and it was not easy because I've also learned I didn't love myself.
Yes.
And it starts there, loving yourself and forming a community because I became very close to that friend because there were days where it was a safe space because when you lose
Yeah.
someone and you do have family around you, and even if you do have children, theirs is a different loss to a new.
Yes.
So they don't quite understand what you're going through. You kind of understand what they've lost a father. I've lost a father. You probably, I know you
Yeah.
recently lost your mom. Um, my condolences for that. But it's different to losing a mate.
You know.
And so you start to talk about your grief, and your kids take it to mean that, oh, here you go again. It's all about you. You know, it's always about you. It's never about anybody else. And so you learn to inwardly shut down.
Hmm.
Now you don't have a safe space. So that friend became a safe space. But she
Gotcha.
understood exactly what I meant. And I call it crazy talk. I could crazy talk with her, and she never said a word because she totally got it. And so it's so important when you're going through those critical years of grief to find a safe community, someone that
Mm.
you really talk to, who will listen, don't necessarily say anything, but they exactly know what you're going through. And you need that. You really do in order to heal. And I was fortunate I had that. So she helped me quite a bit. And,
That's
seeing
beautiful.
perspective. So honestly, I wanted to write a book. So I started writing a book on every day and journaling as to my progress. And then I was going through social media and I saw Dean Garciosa, offering his free one
Yeah.
thing. And I thought, it doesn't hurt. I know of Tony Robbins, but I never really knew of Dean Garciosa. So
Hmm.
I thought, okay, I'll join for that day. And the light bulb went on. It was just like, that's what you could do. You could join his masterclass and start, um, doing a program for yourself to help others. That's how it
Mm.
came about.
So turning the pain of your life into a pathway for other people to follow through these difficult times they can be very dark.
Yeah.
So what are the key points of how you teach and what you share?
Well, my key points are dissecting the emotions. First of all, helping my friends, my clients to appreciate the different emotions that are going to show up when it comes to grief. And there are no stages. Despite, studies have shown that that was the old way of thinking. There were
Oh,
stages of grief, but really there are no stages. They don't come in linear like you think, but there's anger, there's avoidance, there's guilt, extreme sadness, um, different overwhelming emotions.
yes.
They don't last as long as you think they would, but they come in like waves or like cycles.
Mhm.
I
They
like
come in
that.
cycles, right? Okay.
Yeah. And so one day you'll feel sad, next day you'll feel angry, you'll feel guilty. And so
Mm.
help my clients to recognize that these emotions are there and they're real and validate them. And of course, some points are how to cope with these emotions. Many people try to avoid them or bargain their way out, but the best thing to do is to embrace them.
Embrace them. So it's kind of like making friends with those feelings. Am I hearing that correctly? That like the feelings just want some attention.
That's right.
And if you make friends with them, what is it that you learn by making friends with feelings that are
Because for a reason, they teach us, right?
they teach us?
They tell us what's wrong, what we need to change, and things that we need to do differently. And if we take the time to listen to them, we can actually grow and we can become better people.
Is that difficult to do
It's
in the
very,
throes of losing the love of your life? It's like now you want me to make friends with these feelings? I no, no, I don't want to do that.
exactly,
I
it's
don't
too,
want to do that. It's too painful. You're wanting me to do that too?
I know, and it's so true because if I do get a client, I said to them, you might not want to see me the next day because it's heavy, right? It's not exactly light stuff we're dealing with. And the unique thing about losing a mate or losing someone you love is if you have not dealt with past stuff or emotions, it's like a funnel. It opens up those stuff. So not only now you're dealing with your mate and losing him, but the past traumas that you have avoided or you've not dealt with, they're now open to
Yes.
like a double whammy. So you have these clients that, okay, I'm here, but there's so many other stuff that are just popping up that I thought I had dealt with, which
Yes.
really didn't.
Understood.
And so I do help clients to go through that. And the tools are really self-care meditation, breathing exercises, and self-awareness is it's not very common. Many people go through life not even being aware of themselves,
Yes.
and so grief actually learning the landscape of our emotions help us to be more self-aware. And so those
So
are the benefits to in this dark place, there are gifts. I like to call
there
them
it is.
that are, that we can get despite the sadness.
Yes, despite the reality of the loss. What I
Mhm.
was thinking just a moment ago before you slightly touched on it, it's a kind of there's a gift in grief.
Absolutely. At first, you can't see it
And
because
at first you can't see it, yes.
you're just, and those first few years, you're just in shock.
You're
My
just in shock. And
because my husband did everything. He did the bar, he was the mechanic. He was Mr. Fix It. And I remember my daughter coming over to do some barbecuing. And she went and she said, "Oh, we're out of propane." I said, "Oh, no, we need to buy a new barbecue." She's like, "Oh, no, you don't need to buy a new barbecue. You just need to
no,
go."
honey, just turn that heat down. We're gonna get some propane, darling. Just doesn't need to be 80 degrees. We don't need another barbecue. Yeah, those are wonderful memories, huh?
So that was a funny story, thinking I needed a new barbecue because we're out of propane, but that's
Yeah,
but I've come a long way since then, you know.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure you have.
Light bulbs, and I've learned to recognize if the thermostat isn't working, maybe it needs the battery or it needs something.
Yes.
So I've come a long way of fixing things on my own, and I'm pretty proud of myself. And so those are
Yeah.
some ways of being independent. And it took me a long time to even think, which I many people don't realize, but when you lose your mate, it takes a long time to think of the I word. Even though
Yep.
because I used to talk in we, and people are like, there is no we. What are you talking about? I just couldn't get myself to say the I. Now I'm
Yes.
okay. So
So
almost
you're more comfortable. So I have two more questions for you. Is that okay? So people that want to connect with you to understand how to make friends with feelings and to start to rebuild their life, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you, Paveen?
I'm on social media, and my handle is soulshift-81. And you can DM me or email me. And I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Soul Shift, SOULSHIFT -81
Yes.
on Facebook and Instagram, did you say? Okay. And they can DM you there. Beautiful. The last question is before I ask you the last question, just thank you so much for being candid and open and vulnerable. Really, really appreciate it. The spirit of who you are comes through, and your strength and your compassion. What is the single most important thing you'd like listeners to come away from this discussion with in their awareness that are navigating this difficult time, the most difficult years of grief? What is the most important thing you want listeners to come away with?
The most important thing is that it's okay to not be okay. There's a book that I read and I do recommend it. And you know what? Your grief is real, despite what people want you to think.
Hmm.
We're living in a world where we shouldn't show vulnerability, but
Yeah.
that's a sign of weakness. That's actually a sign of strength. And um, yeah, and if you can find a community or someone
Mm,
who supports you, that's very helpful.
mm.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm here for people. If you need someone to talk to. In fact, December 25th, I'll be so keen to mention this. I'm opening up my Zoom room to anyone who wants to, remember or talk about their loved ones at one
Mm.
December 25th, because I know it's a very lonely time for a lot of people, especially if you've lost your person.
Yeah.
So my Zoom room will be open to anyone, and you just have to go to my bio on SoulShift and link, go to Zoom, and you'll get right into my Zoom. It's linked with my
Yeah.
Instagram.
Beautiful. Wow, that's powerful. That's kind. So Vivian, thank you for spending this time. I really appreciate it. And bless you.
Thank you, Christian, for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope I was helpful to people.
Oh, just your presence is helpful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, just being who you are is helpful. Right? I think the magic happens when who we are becomes what we do. And I
Right.
think that what you've gone through and how you've grown through it, and the fact that you are resilient, strong, and present, and have a service mindset is a real testament to your character. So thanks for spending the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that's it for another edition of VisionCast Network, where intention, collaboration, and technology gather in service to humanity. I want to thank Vivian Tresdrail for sharing her wisdom, her vulnerability, and her authenticity, and how she moved through an amazingly difficult period of her life. She has transformed that pain into a purpose. I think we all have a lot to learn from that. Until the next episode, this is Christian Raphael signing off. Take care. Have a great day. Blessings.